black half a football field sized triangular shaped UFO was seen hovering over a California military base for 10 minutes before disappearing in footage taken by 50 U.S. Marines in 2021. This footage has caused a fury of debate on UFO Twitter and here at Rising. Here's UFO investigator and documentarian Jeremy Corbell discussing the Mojave Triangle UAP with TMZ.
Check it out. This is really simple. This is an active investigation. We're trying to crowdsource to get more information. What happened was there was, these lights that were in the sky, and I first thought they were flares. This was 2 years ago, but all the Marines that I've spoken with said they could see the body of the craft. You can hear that in the audio. So they're telling me there was a triangular shaped craft, and you can see that in that low light image. So I've been doing my best to get information, and I want the world now to kind of embrace this. There's a lot of talk if these are just flares, and we're trying to figure that out. But all the witnesses say they saw a huge triangular shaped craft. They actually shot up illumination flares to try to highlight that craft at that time. There were training exercises going on at the time, but not on every night. So this is something that everybody's trying to figure out. What is this? What did they see?
Here to help break it down is creator of theblackvault.com, John Greenwald Jr. Thanks for coming on, John.
Absolutely. It's good to be here. Thank you so much.
So I want to know, what do we make of this? Is it aliens? I think it might be aliens.
Well, sadly, not in this case. I think that the UFO field has a lot of cases over the last quite a few decades that are worthy of a closer look and media attention. Sadly, I think at the end of the day, this one is not one of them.
Mm-hmm. What makes you say that? Is it an unidentified American test craft, perhaps? Or what is the explanation for what it is that the Marines saw that day?
Yeah, so you really have to break down the story in quite a few different ways, but really the nutshell way to approach this is what was going on at the base at the time in 29 Palms. And sadly, that entire part of the story was omitted from the original reporting. There was a major training exercise that was going on that night that was called the Weapons and Tactics Instructor Course 2-21. And it's a 7-week course. But when I started researching the footage that came out that was published on this case, over the years, I've learned generally something around or in a military base will generally have a military connection. So when you start digging into this training exercise, you realize there was a lot of imagery that the Department of Defense has openly put out to the public over the last couple of years since 2021. It was not a classified training exercise whatsoever. But when you look at the imagery, there was actually clips of flares that were launched. This is all an official video, 5 flares that you can see, which matches the exact same formation of the quote unquote UFO videos that came around. So there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle that you put it together. But when you look at it and you find a match like that, that's something that's definitely worthy of putting as a viable explanation for this, and then essentially moving on to the next case that warrants a little bit more attention and investigation.
So what do you make of the eyewitness testimony of folks who saw this half a football field size? I love that we have to use other metrics other than any system of measurement. With the Chinese spy balloon, we were like, it's 2 buses, it's 4 buses, it's half a football field. Americans are not very good at measuring things. But what do you make of the folks who said they saw this black triangle in the sky?
Yeah, that's another piece of the puzzle that we need to break down. It was stated that there's 50 plus, even I've heard estimates of 80 plus witnesses, which is all great. However, what we are presented with are 2 anonymous sources in an audio recording that were talking about their experience. Now, I don't discount testimony like that outright. I mean, testimony is incredibly valid. But in the same respect, testimony can also be wrong. So it's less about what we believe, more about what we can prove. And that's why I kind of lean towards, in cases like this, what can we look at? What can we analyze? And when you put the videos from the witnesses and match that up to a clear footage of flares, and it matches, that's what we can prove. Now, do those Marines that have come forward, the two that were in the audio recording, believe that they saw something? Absolutely. And we shouldn't take that away from them, nor should it be insulting that we question whether or not they're wrong. We can all be wrong. It doesn't matter about our training, our background, our education, our IQ level. It doesn't matter. We can all be mistaken, myself included. So again, that's why we stick with the evidence that we can look at, we can analyze, and we can prove. And in this specific case, that's where that flare footage really comes in to be a crucial factor to explaining this. But another thing another thing that I question is why all that was left out in the original reporting. So I kind of look into what the motive is here as well. Why weren't we told about all of this? Why weren't we given that as a plausible explanation? Sadly, that was all omitted.
Yeah, that's a good point, because when we read the government's various reports that they've released on UFOs, they kind of give it this air of mystery when there are these types of cases where it seems like there was either a training exercise or perhaps a foreign craft involved. And I just wonder what you think their motivation is for kind of keeping this mystery alive. Are there really cases where the government doesn't know what these crafts are, or are they kind of playing subterfuge with the American people?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, because it's a point that I really want to stress. The U.S. government and U.S. military has a large number of cases that they just simply can't explain. This one is being kind of muddied a little bit as being one of those cases. And to be honest with you, there's no evidence that it is, that's completely separate. This is something that is different. But on the contrary, when you look at the military, you look at what the government is talking about away from this case, I don't think they're trying to keep the mystery alive. I think it is truly a mystery in some cases. I think there are incidents and events that the military is just scratching their head over. Are there other ones that are top secret military aircraft? 100% absolutely. Are there other ones that are foreign spy platforms and technology? 100% absolutely. But there is a small percentage that the military will even admit to where they say we can't put a definitive explanation on this. And that's what's intrigued me for more than 26 years now, and why I run the blackvault.com, and why UFOs has always been one of my favorite topics, because after 26 plus years, you can't dismiss everything. A lot of them you can, and we shouldn't be afraid to do that. But in the same regard, there is a certain percentage that we can't, and that's what keeps me going and intrigued, because the military as well, I think, would want this all to go away. And I could bore you to death with hours of trying to work through the Freedom of Information Act and try and get information from the government that the military just doesn't want us to have. And we can see that secrecy. The question is why? Certain parts of it are easily explainable. They don't want to give away all of our secrets and technology and what our capabilities are. I accept that. I'm one of those ones that wants to get everything out in the open, but can accept secrecy. But in the same respect, there's a lot of things that they're keeping secret about this that just doesn't make sense. And that's what keeps me going and realizing there is much more to this than they want us to believe.
I'm on the same team as you. I would like to believe the aliens are there. I'm a pick me when it comes to aliens. Beam me up. Take me with you. That's where I stand. It sounds like you're saying Occam's razor, basically. The most obvious explanation is likely the one. And so if we know where the aliens aren't, in the majority of cases where it's a training or it's a balloon or something else, we can focus on the minority of cases where we don't have an explanation. So that sounds great to me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
for coming on. And I hope we do
that
in the future too.
Yeah. We have more Rising for you all after this.